Right, we're live. And what we're going to cover today is 5 steps to master work and wellness for executives who want both, which is, if you're watching this, probably your goal. Your goal, hopefully, if you haven't achieved it yet, is in 2025 to balance work life, of course, family life, because that's a kind of a big barrier for a lot of you, social life with a decent level of health, fitness, and confidence. Just the balance where you can wake up every day with energy, feel good about yourself, not worry about your health, go on business trips, do everything that you need to do without it actually making everything worse, which is probably where you are right now, which can be extremely frustrating. Spoke to a couple of guys yesterday here on LinkedIn who basically said the same thing. They start fitness programs and then they stop when they either don't get the, well, typically 3 reasons, but these two guys said the same thing, that they started a workout regime and a kind of a fitness plan with a diet and then quickly realized it didn't fit their lifestyle. Like, it was becoming too much of a challenge to incorporate it in to their busy lives. My clients are the same, all of them in their 40s and 50s, a couple of them in their 60s, very busy, long hours, lots of traveling, lots of client meetings and client visit and business lunches. One of my clients today, we did our strategy call this morning, and he's got 2 days away and then a rugby match. So what we need is a framework to follow that is flexible and takes all of these things into account. And you don't really want it to be too much of a burden. What you want it to be is that and I have to say this to be completely transparent, after a small period of kind of learning, because there is going to be a bit of a learning curve to a lot of this, but at some point, a lot of the stuff I do with my clients becomes very automated and kind of just, the idea is we want it just to be a habit. So we're going to go through this 5-step framework that I use for myself and with clients, just something that I've been doing for probably the best part of about 10 years. And it's just takes out some of the guesswork. I really want more of you to kind of approach fitness and health a bit more like you approach the business that you run, the job that you have, where there's an actual kind of framework, where there are steps that you follow that are kind of logical, that keep you clear on what you need to do on the day to day, and then they allow you to kind of assess and evaluate. So we'll go through that. And if you get this right, and I have to say this because I always say it, if you get this right and you combine it with a good level of commitment and discipline, then I honestly don't see how any of you can fail. And what I mean by that is long term, because built into this framework is going to be things that you can change to make sure that those failures that you have or the barriers that you have get fixed, which we'll come to in a minute. So I just call this the STEEL framework. And we're going to go through it one step at a time, cover why it's important and what to do. And if you've got, what I would say, same as I say a lot, if you've got any of these that you do well, carry on. If there are any of them that you don't do consistently, be more consistent. And if any of these steps are something you never do or you never heard of, that's obviously the priority to work on. So the first one is a very simple and probably quite an obvious one, and yet the vast majority of executives fail immediately. Now, bear in mind, we've already covered, hopefully you can hear me over the rain in the conservatory, but before you get to this, you should have covered kind of goals and why, and got kind of the mindset piece in. This is kind of the strategy. So the first is S, set your strategy. I feel like too many of you either completely wing it and you don't really have any kind of strategy to follow, or you have some strategy, and that might be as loose as I'm going to go to the gym 3 times per week and I'm going to maybe walk 5,000 steps. Or, to be fair, some of you have strategies that are too rigid, too strict. But you need to set the strategy, and that needs to be custom tailored to things like your goals, because everything we do in fitness has to be specific. If you want to lose body fat, then your diet is going to be very different to if you want to gain muscle. your training will look very different if you want to say run a marathon versus it is if you want to build muscle. So it has to be specific to your goal. It has to be specific to your body. We are going to vary in kind of weight and metabolism, injuries and niggles, you know, the kind of thing you don't really talk about until you're in your 40s and 50s, but that has to be part of it. Often I'll send a client a training plan, or they'll say in their application form, I can't do X, Y, and Z because I have no cartilage, or I have a knee injury, whatever, I have shoulder problems, and we have to adapt around it. And of course, an important element for you guys is it has to fit your lifestyle. So it has to be specific to your goals. What do I want to achieve? Your body. So how many calories do I need? What foods are going to make me feel better? How much protein do I need? How many steps do I need to do? How much cardio? And then you have to tailor that into, okay, cool. I need this many steps, but does that fit my lifestyle? Does it fit my schedule? Do I need more steps? Or do I need fewer steps? Do I need more calories? Or do I need fewer calories? So the strategy should be set up. And what that does is, A, it holds you accountable. All the guys come into my coaching program, when it's all sent to them, it can all be placed in the calendar and I can see what they're doing. I can see the foods they're eating in the right amounts. I can see if they've done their training. And obviously we have the check-ins, which we'll come back to, but it obviously holds you accountable. And what I find with most of the men I work with, a lot of the times they do better. This is probably a trait with executives and successful kind of professional men, when they have structure to follow. When you can wake up every day and say, these are the boxes I need to tick. Anything else is a waste of time, but this is like my non-negotiables. These are the things that are going to matter. That does make a lot of things in life much easier, from business to fitness. So make sure you set the strategy, have it laid out, and that really could be broken down kind of crudely into, what am I going to do with my nutrition? What am I going to do with my training and working out? What am I going to do with my kind of activity and cardio? And then off there, we can go into, you know, what's going to be, how much muscle building stuff am I going to do? How much mobility stuff? Do I need to do specific fitness stuff, or am I able to just walk and kind of do general health stuff? So everything has to be specific. Once you have that specific kind of set strategy that's tailored to you, then the next step is really very simple. One I probably don't need to say, but I am going to say it. That is, take action consistently. And the consistently bit is the part that a lot of you guys struggle with. For reasons why, well, it could be down to your actual just mindset and discipline. Maybe you're, for lack of a better term, you're all talk. You've said that you want to get in shape, but you haven't quite decided in here. And that, you know, I've been there myself, quite frankly, where I've had times where I've said I'm going to get really lean, maybe do a photo shoot or something, but I'm kind of saying it, but in my head, I'm not really, like, it hasn't become a true desire yet. That's important. Or you can't be consistent because this is wrong. So you set yourself up for failure from the very beginning. Like I said, I spoke to a guy yesterday, messaged him on LinkedIn, and one of the things he said was, I started a fitness journey in like late last year, September, October, and then quickly realized he couldn't follow it because it was too much of a stretch on his time. But still, it's worth it being reminded that consistency, not perfection though, but this is not really going to address that specifically, but it doesn't have to be perfect, just consistently following your plan. Now, what you can do in terms of how we do it in my coaching program is we do it kind of on a really around a kind of, I guess, a 7 to 10 day basis. Typically 7, because people check in once a week, but sometimes when they check in, I might say, yeah, carry on with that for a few more days. I just want to see what pans out. But we think of it in terms of weeks, or kind of 7-day periods. You follow that plan consistently for 7 to 10 days. I need to say any more than that. If you're struggling with consistency, you either have the wrong plan, the wrong mindset, or you need some accountability. The vast majority of the men in my coaching program will tell you that one of the reasons why they joined my coaching program was to have some skin in the game and to have someone giving them a bit of a slap, you know, a reminder, a jog, a nudge, and the community to kind of keep them going. Once you've taken action for this kind of from about 7 to 10 days, you have to evaluate what's actually happened. A lot of executives, 40+ men, get this one wrong. Because when I say, how was your progress? Your immediate reaction will probably be to tell me how much you lost in terms of weight. But there'll be times when you don't lose weight. I posted a graph. I can't bring it up now. No, I can't bring it up now. Posted a graph on LinkedIn a few days ago where it was like client dropped down till about October, and then till literally this weekend. So whole of October, whole of November, whole of December, most of January. The graph is literally no fluctuations, exactly the same weight. Then a drop this weekend, but he's lost body fat and his photographs haven't been improving. So you have to evaluate results in terms of body composition. That is, how do you look, measurements, weight. You could have something a little bit more subjective, like our clothes are looser. I prefer things that are a little bit more, accurate, like measurements, weight, and photographs, because if you have a balance of all of them, it's going to be good. But you also want to kind of evaluate some other things as well. So when clients check in with me, it's not just about the results in terms of how are their photographs or their measurements or their weight, because what I'm trying to answer the question is, we go back to it. I'm trying to answer the question, is this strategy working? If it is, perfect. That's what we're trying to evaluate. But we also want to kind of look at things a little bit deeper. We want to ask our questions like, is it working? But how is their energy, or how is their sleep? Are they picking up any kind of injuries from training? How is their strength? How is their mood, their attitude, their motivation? So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to just juggle, I'm trying to just balance out this delicate balance really of results and sustainability, or if I want to be kind of a bit cheesy, kind of enjoyment. They have to balance out. So I want guys to kind of check in and say, Phil, I lost a couple of pounds this week. Strength is up. Energy is great. I'm not hungry. I'm sleeping well. And my mood is great. I'm in the zone, basically. Whereas you could get a week where someone says, I lost 2 or 3 pounds, but I'm hungry as hell. I'm on the verge of maybe having a binge. I'm demotivated for some reason, or I'm picking up these little injuries. My sleep's poor. And therefore you have got a point where you've got some results, but the longevity or the sustainability piece of the puzzle is questionable. Well, if that's the case, we just evolve the strategy. We'll just do some changes. Now, if someone checks in and this is the same with you, if you have a great week, followed it, hunger's good, you're not hungry, your energy's good, you feel good, everything's falling into place, and you got results, you don't have to change anything. This is a mistake a lot of 40+ men make. And even my clients will say often in the check-ins, in the little bit where there's a comment, they can leave feedback. What, especially the guys that are newer, what's going to change this week? Because they kind of associate changes as a way of making progress. But if it isn't broken, don't fix it. You don't need to say anything more than that. If it is broken, whether that is you're not seeing results from a kind of body composition point of view, or if your goals are more fitness or flexibility, if you're not getting results, or the experience or the sustainability piece is questionable, then that's where you make changes. And that's why doing this frequently is important. I get guys tell me that they weigh themselves and that's all they do once a month. I get it. I can understand why you might want to jump on the scales, because a lot of men get a bit obsessed with it. But if you're, especially in the beginning, you might get away with this. So if you start on day 1, you might check in with yourself 4 weeks later and have great results. You should do, probably. As you get further along the journey, the body tends to adapt a little bit more, and you could end up, quite frankly, wasting some time, because you may have, let's do it in terms of weeks. You make progress on, let's say, your week 1 of month 5, and then after that 7 or 8 days you hit a plateau, but then you don't check in with yourself to the end of the month, then you've wasted 2.5, 3 weeks with nothing happening. So these typically need to be weekly, and then you just change stuff like, how do I get back into a calorie deficit? That is going to be one of the things you experience quite a lot. You guys will experience plateaus. So I'm doing all of this, but nothing's working. I'm not getting any leaner. I'm not getting any stronger. I'm not improving my fitness. Okay, plan needs to change. Or there's things like metabolism has dropped and I'm not getting results. I'm super hungry and I've been dieting for 6 months. Do we need to add in refeeds? Do we need diet breaks? A lot of the time, this isn't linear. It's not always like this. Sometimes we have to take a step back to go 2 steps forwards. But that is where you evolve the strategy. And that is why you evaluate the results and the progress and the experience frequently. And then you have the confidence and the knowledge to make the right changes to the strategy. So you go back into the strategy, and this is why having the pieces of that strategy laid out is important, because if you can say to yourself, I have done this many steps, or this much, I've eaten this much food, or these foods, been to the gym this many times, I've done these exercises, these reps and sets, all things that are, really simple to track nowadays with apps and stuff. Then when you go to evolve and adjust it, it's very, very simple. So when clients check in with me on the weekend, I can go in, look at their photographs, I can look at the form they filled out, I can look at their data, their food and MyFitnessPal, I can look at their trainer, I can look at it all very quickly. And within probably 5 or 6 minutes, I can either say, perfect, carry on, or I can just send back feedback saying, I want you to change. I will do it for them. Obviously, I've changed this in your training plan, or I've updated your nutrition plan. Check it out. We're going to change that from tomorrow. Or I might have some follow-up questions. But that evolving that strategy stops you from hitting plateaus and ensures that instead of maybe hitting the wall after 6 or 7 weeks, you can go months on end getting the results that you want. And you will have to typically do this a little bit more often the longer you go. So if you've only got 4 or 5 kilos to lose, great. You might get it done in 6 or 7 weeks, and maybe you might even get that done with one plan. Lots of my clients have got 20, 30, 40 kilos to lose, and typically that's going to mean many, many adjustments. I've got clients that have been with me for a good couple of years now. They've got lean, they've built muscle, they've got lean again. We've gone for a whole journey, and I number the nutrition plans, and often it'll be like nutrition plan number 50, because I just document the change every time I change something for them. And it's just all we've done is we've made sure that the strategy evolves with their progress, lack thereof, or their experiences. And the last one, and of course, you just rinse and repeat this for as long as needed. If I bring up Simon here, and I remove the banner, not that it really matters too much. But if we look at Simon's progress, that was about 13 months or so. It's about 7.5 stone. Well, you can imagine 7.5 stone over the course of a whole year, just over a year. He obviously had like Christmas, and there was New Year's and birthday. If you take a normal person's year, there'll be a lot of things that get in the way: illnesses, injuries, plateaus. So obviously, he had quite a lot of plans. We change them quite frequently. Same goes with, if I bring up, John. The plan he started with there was not the plan he ended with, because the difference there is not the diet from the first phase with me. What he's done to achieve that is he's dieted down. I wish I should, if I had the other photograph, I wish I could put it in the middle, but I have a photo where he's got a 6-pack, but he's much smaller. I also have photographs where he's got a little bit bigger and he's got a bit more fat, ultimately to end up with that after picture. So it's a journey. The plan that you follow, the strategy you follow, has to evolve over time. And then you just keep rinsing and repeating that. And the last one is that you just level up for life. And this is really about habit building and knowledge and learning some of the strategies that allow this to be easier for an executive. So, for example, one of my clients today, he's got a couple of days away for work in Ireland, and then he's going to the rugby. I'm pretty sure he said he's going to the rugby in Ireland, or he's coming back and he's going to the rugby. He's like, I probably want to have a few drinks. We've got the strategies for the work while I'm away. I can eat well there. What we're going to do with the rugby, because I wouldn't want having a drink, but I don't want to obviously ruin my results. He's on a good run, and we just put together a strategy where we have got it to where he can probably have 4 or 5 gin and tonics and still lose body fat this week. Yes, it's possible, and I can't go into there's no point going into detail. That takes me forever to talk about in this. But leveling up for life is about the habits you build, the identity, the person you become, the knowledge and the strategies to allow you to just carry on indefinitely. Because at some point, you'll get to your goal, Hopefully you'll look in the mirror one day, you'll be happy and healthy. Hopefully you'll set new goals and you'll go back to this strategy and it will have to change. And that how it changes depends on what your new goals are. You may get to the point where you just want to maintain. You may get to the point where, like a lot of my clients, where you get lean and they want to build muscle. You may get to the point where you lose fat, you build confidence, and you start playing a sport. So all of a sudden, instead of going from kind of generic fat loss and kind of muscle building, just generic kind of 40 plus stuff to stay fit, you go more specifically towards fitness for a sport. But that all comes really from kind of leveling up your life from a habits point of view, your beliefs, your mindset, and your knowledge. Just the way, and I said that, I'll finish this. I said that to Peter today. I said, this is a great opportunity because this is the first time in a while that he's had to kind of go traveling. And then since we started this next phase of dieting and had something like the rugby. So quite a lot of temptation this week. And I said, it's a great chance for us to not only practice these strategies that you've got, but it was also a great chance to prove to yourself that you are now the man that can go to the rugby and say, I'm going to have X drinks and stop. Or I'm going to go on this business trip and I'm going to choose to eat the fish rather than pizza, for example. Or, as we discussed in detail, we must have both been quite hungry, but I can avoid the pastries that are laid out at these events because you always get nice pastries and coffees. That is what that last one is about. It's like leveling up to make sure that all the other steps of the framework continue. And that is really what will separate a lot of men who struggle from the guys who don't, is having that framework laid out, having that strategy, understanding how to change it, having the discipline to do it, maybe having the support and the accountability needed to do it, and then having the confidence and the knowledge to change things when they start working, holding themselves accountable, having the discipline to track and assess and treat the body almost like you would treat running a business. You've got stuff you need to boxes you need to tick, you've got data that you need to track, and you have to evaluate and change if it stops working, which it will. Now, if you'd like some help with this, you want me to teach you how to do this. In fact, if you want me just to do it for you, because obviously if you come into my coaching program, I will set that strategy. I will help you take action. I'll be the one that evaluates the results on a week-to-week basis, and I'll be the one that changes the plan so that you can just focus on doing it. But at the same time, we'll level up your knowledge and all the habits that you have, so that at some point when you leave, you will know how to do it for the rest of your life. If you want some help with that, just send me a message with the word STEEL, or just comment STEEL below, and I'll send you a message. We'll have a chat. We'll see what your problems are, your maybe top 2 or 3 struggles. We'll look at kind of maybe what your top 1, 2, or 3 goals are, so we know where you are right now, what's been holding you back for maybe the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Where do you want to go? And then, okay, where does this framework fit in terms of allowing you to go from where you are now to where you want to go? Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to cut this off now before the dog goes mental because the postman has been.